Hey everybody. This is I guess we're gonna call this the random video. I'm still working out what to call this. What it's in its infant stages. Um Trying it on for size kind of thing. Um so last week I told you guys about reading Public Domain by Chip Zdarsky. And I told you about why and how it made me want to write a comic book, which was kind of a clickbaity type of situation. Because the truth is, I wanted to write a comic book before I read Public Domain by Chip Zdarsky, Volume 1. And truth be told, I got a lovely response out of that one. I did. It was lovely, and it felt good. It felt good to do that kind of format for you guys. So, what I'm thinking of doing is, and this is going to be the first of its kind, without actually being the first of its kind, where when you're doing reviews, you're actually kind of getting into it and actually talking about the who, what, when, why, and how of your opinion supported by what you read or saw or heard or what have you. And that's basically the idea of doing a review. Yes, you might be hearing me opening a can of sparkling water, but that's what you heard. Okay. Anyways, back to the point. When you're doing a review, there's a lot more structure to actually talking about what your opinions were involving the text of what you're reading. And in particular, involving reading when we're talking about comic books and graphic novels and books. When you're seeing, where we're talking about movies or TV. Let me know down in the comments if by chance you want me and Bizarro Fett to do a review of Alien Romulus. We just saw that Sunday. It was just on its, just on the level. Very much enjoyed it. But anyways, I like doing what I did like last week. We're doing a reaction vlog type video. I really love reading things that not only I get enjoyment out of reading, or watching things, I get enjoyment out of watching, everything like that. And I love doing reviews. But sometimes you just kind of want to sit in something, you know? You want to sit in it. You want to squish your toes in the sand and you want to grab a snowball with your bare fingers and feel the cold, feel the ice. And sometimes you just want to feel the breeze on your face, through your hair, and just feel. And it's a good way to kind of somewhat start to do the transition into what I'm specifically talking about today. So, welcome to something I'm trying on. We're gonna call it a reading vlog, so to speak, where I'm going to talk to you about my reactions to the piece of popular culture that I that I partook in last week. Um, that piece of popular culture was a graphic novel written by Zoe Thorogood, and it came out in 2022. It is called It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth. I'm going to pull up. I read it digitally on my Hoopla app. Everybody get excited. Brought to you by the Indianapolis Public Library, the Hoopla app. Um, Not a sponsor. Not and do I ever expect anyone like the Indianapolis Public Library to ever sponsor the show? No, because well, the library needs all the money it can get, and the library is a government run and financed resource, I think. But anyways, it's the Indianapolis Public Library. My library card got me the access to Hoopla and its entire catalog through Hoopla that they have on Hoopla. And one of the items was It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth by Zoe Thorogood. Now, if you've been with me thus far, thank you. But right before I get into actually let's talk about okay, we're gonna rewind here and we're gonna do this. Um I read It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth by Zoe Thorogood, um, published in 2022. It is an autobiographical graphic novel. Yeah, say that 3 times fast. I won't because I'm trying not to look like a fool. And we'll just leave it at that. It's an autobiographical graphic novel. There we go. Um, so I read Zoe Thorogood's autobiographical graphic novel from 2022, and it made me take a moment, take several moments to look at my own mental health. And that's what we're going to talk about today. My reaction to It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth and possibly what it helped me do. I'm pretty happy about this. I'm very happy that I read this graphic novel. But before we go any further, I've kind of told you what the overall general topic related to It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth that we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to take a moment and give you a big old content warning because if you've ever read it or if you haven't read it, spoiler alert, it has to do a lot with one woman's life, just going through life, going through depression and intrusive thoughts. And through the course of doing this video, I'm going to be talking about my own experiences, along with talking about what Zoe Thorogood writes and talking about my own experiences with depression, anxiety, other mental illness, intrusive thoughts, suicidal thoughts. And for those of you that know me personally, whether it be personally in person or personally online, I've cultivated a lot of friendships online, besides the people that I know personally. For those people that know me personally, whether it be online or in person, some of the stuff that I'm going to say in this video might be a little bit upsetting. Just speaking directly to you guys, being candid about a lot of things that have happened to me and things that I have felt, not just throughout my life, but in particular the last year or two. Year, 2, 3, 4. And talk to you about where I'm at now and what reading this book helped me realize and helped me work out and help me do, start the process to doing. Ooh, I love that. You probably heard me drinking. Like, that's weird. Okay. So, content warning out there. If you are, before you go, um, if you're feeling any of these kinds of feelings, know that you are valued and you are worthy and there's help out there. Um, Whether you make an appointment with a doctor or a therapist or a counselor or you call a hotline, there's help out there for you. You are valued, you are wonderful, and you're worth it. That being said, whew, let's get into this. So, Zoe Thorogood writes in the beginning of this graphic novel, coming from a place of that she just went through this horrible breakup and her reaction to it, and just kind of wanted to close off in her own little world and work on her, work and what have you. And like, it made me think of this time period where I was in a, I would say, probably pretty toxic relationship where um, there's a lot of stuff that once it ended, I had to start coming to realizations about things, little by little, about myself, about him, about us together. And there was a time period where I barely left the house. And this is pre-pandemic because, um, gosh, probably about 10 years ago. Um, After everything went down, I barely left the house except to go to work and grocery shop. Um, it was kind of a joke. Um, it was kind of it was kind of a ha if I pulled myself together and actually went someplace that was not work or grocery shopping for a number of months. And so I fell into like this, what does it all mean things, right? Like, if you ever watched High Fidelity, where he's sitting there and he's like, he goes through like the top 5 breakups. Like, this one was, at that time, it was number one with a bullet. Okay, that kind of thing. That's what happened. And I sat there because I wasn't doing anything, and I just mulled it over constantly in my brain. And for reasons unknown to myself, I have a theater degree. Um, you've probably heard me talk about that. You might have seen me talk about it in other streams, what have you. I have a bachelor's degree in theater. Um, I definitely, at one point in my life, had absolutely no problem getting up on stage, singing, acting, anything. Um, because of my reaction to this breakup and everything that happened, for reasons I still don't understand, I all of a sudden started getting hella bad stage fright. um, like, I used to love going up and singing at karaoke, and then all of a sudden it was like I would shake. I would I would shake, like shake. And it was like, it was one of those things where it's like, it felt so un unnerving, and it felt so unnatural for me to feel like that I would force myself to still get on stage anyways, and then just be like shaking. Um so like, that's just, and there's a lot of things that happened in the course of our relationship that now, um there's a part of me that hopes that he's doing all right, but then there's a part of me that still um, hopes he goes to hell. Um, but I had that circumstance where I just kind of shut myself out and didn't do anything besides, the aforementioned grocery shop and go to work. And so when she's sitting there and she's diving into work and she's diving into what she did, and like for me, like I dove into not necessarily my 9 to 5 job, but I dove into like making jewelry and doing that and doing that part of my creative um, alter ego. Is like, if I'm not making jewelry, if I'm not doing this, if I'm not writing, then who the fuck am I? Because everything else is not there. If I'm not writing or making something or doing whatever, it was like, or doing some photography or whatever, it was literally like, who the fuck am I? I had um I've had in the past back and forth intrusive thoughts. Um and it's been a lot of time to just kind of sit there and back and forth, and then it was one of these things where it's like, I there are times I really have these like moment thoughts, and it's, I think the only thing that probably like reels me back in, um besides the eventual use of medication and therapy, was the creative stuff, the writing, the making things, the photography, the doing all these things. Anything that I didn't have to stand on a stage for, because apparently I couldn't do that anymore. Um, and so she kind of dives into to doing that, but then like at the same time, like I she talks about having these feelings of being like, it's weird when people tell her that she's relatable, and it's weird when people tell you that you're relatable, because then you're sitting there and you're like, if you're in one of these situations where, and she kind of gets into this, where you feel like life is like not going well, and you write something or you make something or you have a public thought, and that public thought is basically a manifestation of what you're thinking and feeling, whether it has to do with depressive thought or anxiety or intrusive thoughts. You have those public moments where other people are taking in something that you've done and you've created. And the reason why it was created in the first place was because you're in this place of self doubt, depression, anxiety, fear, and to know that that's where it's coming from, because you did it, you made it, you wrote it, you drew it, you pictured it, you pictured it, you took the picture, you drew it, you wrote it, you made it. And for someone to look at that and tell you that it's relatable, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh fuck, that really sucks that you feel like me. um I am so sorry. Um, I am so sorry you feel like me. Um, and I don't always feel that way. I mean, honestly, depression and anxiety and intrusive thoughts are like what one of my friends said a long time ago, like not on the same level. Okay, I don't want to make the statement. I want to say it's not on the same level, but it's kind of the best way to describe what you're feeling and how it happens and how it comes about is that it is moments of boredom. Okay, so he used to tell me, and he's dearly departed, he's no longer with us. God love him. Hopefully I meet him again someday when I cross over, hopefully a long long time from now. But he used to tell me that war, because he's experienced it, was long periods of nothing happening, of boredom, accentuated by bursts of complete terror. And while it's not even close to being on the same level as being shot at or having bombs going off all around you, the feeling of long periods of feeling nothing or feeling base, like either nothing or base level, and accentuated by moments of complete and total bursts of sadness and terror. And that's what a lot of my mental health is like. One of the things that Zoe does in this book is she has the different kind of like characters that are kind of make up her. Um, where you have the young um, little girl version of Zoe. You have what she refers to in this video that I watched, that she made a Q&A. She has a YouTube channel called Zoe Thorogood. Just Zoe Thorogood. She has two videos on the YouTube channel. One is a video where she talks about how to break out into the comic book business, and I haven't watched that, but I will tell you that after reading It's Lonely at Center of the Earth, I wanted to see, I took a few moments because I wanted to see what other people were saying about it. Not because I wanted to influence what I was going to say about it, but I wanted to see if anyone kind of did anything like what I was going and thinking of doing. And she has a video up on her channel, one of the two, where she does a Q&A kind of session where people have sent in questions and she talks about um, the book and she answers the questions in relation to the book, this particular book in general. And she mentions that there's like the depression character, which is the big towering black being with this weird crazy looking face with a huge smile, and it's like, but it's like a terrorizing smile, like it's a scary imposing figure. And I think it's funny because she refers to him as happy. um and he's representative of the depression. You have the little girl Zoe. You have Zoe now. You have this other character is just kind of like a weird smiley face. And I forget what she was saying about that, but that's a different. That's kind of like the sarcastic version of everything. And then you have like little anime cutesy Zoe, which is fun. And so Zoe is reacting to, she's got all these different like parts of her personality, like contributing content to this autobiographical novel. And it's basically like 6 months of her life, like dealing with all this, everything that happens and everything. And when she has like these interactions with people in her family, and it's like those really hit me like a lot, because there are some people, like one or two people that are that close to me, that understand exactly what I'm going through, and they know for the most part that we both live in a world that exists with depression and anxiety. We both exist within that world. And then there's the but primarily, one of the things that struck me from what she was saying is that how it's really hard for her to have this connection with her family for various reasons, one of which being, ever since she became an adult, it's been easier for her to hide what she's going through from that. Recognizing these attributes in herself, that she recognizes in herself, seeing them in people in her family, and like still being the person that, like, she loves her family, but she also knows they don't understand, and she doesn't want them to understand. Um, it's just one of those things where she says that the relief that she's had is that when she became an adult and she moved out, it was easier for her to exist without having to worry about them existing in the depression with her. Um, it kind of reminds me of that song. I'm a 90s kid, right? So I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So I was born in early 80s. So came of age in the 90s. So 90s kids, if you're in your late 30s, early 40s, early to mid 40s, possibly closing in on 50, you might remember, especially if you're into alternative music, a woman called Tracy Bonham. Had a couple of fairly decent hits, one of them being a song called Mother Mother. And in the song, it's she's having these conversations with her mother, and um, how she's, on one end, she's, the the internal monologue is, everything that's wrong, and then the outward, what she's saying to her mother is what she wants her mom to know, and she wants her mom to think she's okay. And that's a really hard place to live in. And because I know, feeling like these people are supposed to be the people that you're closest to, and it's hard to let them know exactly how you're feeling, because you either know how they're going to react, or that they have that they You either know how they're going to react or you don't know. And if you do know how they're going to react, or you have an idea, that you're pretty sure it's a reaction that you don't need. You're pretty sure it's the reaction that you don't want. And sometimes you think about the reaction that you do want, and you wonder why you can't have that. But you deal with it. Because what's the alternative? You made the decision that to deal with it, because what else are you going to do? The alternative, rather than dealing with it, is something you don't like thinking about. So, the book goes through like 6 months of her life. And when she, experiences everything, she has these moments of saddening clarity, um, where she's finally able to like vocalize how she's feeling, even if it means that she doesn't have answers. Like, you can have moments of clarity in depression, anxiety, and all that. You can have moments of clarity, but it doesn't solve anything. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm talking like I'm having a conversation. Kind of am, but maybe you get what I'm saying. Where you can have moments of clarity and it solves something. But a lot of times you can have moments of clarity and it solves nothing. Um, and she has moments like that where, she's thinking about some of the things of her reactions and how things were when she was a little girl, and having some moments of like, you know, you weren't what everyone thought you were. You weren't bad. You were just a little girl, creative little girl that there was nothing wrong with you. And I'm working on that for myself. I got made fun of as a little girl. I had plenty of people thinking exactly what they wanted to of me from age 5 to age 18, probably beyond. But it was around age 17 or 18 where, like, I went from pretending I didn't care to actually not caring anymore for the time being. Like, I had a pretty sweet time period between the age of 17 or 18 through probably my early 30s, probably around 10 years ago, where I did not care what anyone thought of me. And I'm like recently kind of like over the last like week, um, reading this book and thinking about like looking at the younger version of Zoe in this book and just thinking about like when I got to that point where like at first it was like with her it was like fake it till you make it, and then it's like okay, now I'm where is that person, where is she, how do I figure out how to get that feeling back? And I guess that's maybe why I'm here. I guess maybe that's why I started the channel and then I stopped for a little bit there and tried to figure out exactly, well, what's my point of being here? And now I'm trying this. So there's just like little things. So like little things that younger Carrie did, from the way she styled her hair to the way she wore jewelry to the way she wore her makeup to the way that she wore her clothes, to the way that she looked at things, the way she experienced things, doing a lot of internal research on who that was. Some people get to see that. Some people get to see that without any kind of window dressing. Like some people have gotten to see that. Some people get to see that even now without any kind of window dressing to a point. I would say probably my boyfriend gets to see that person. Thankfully, he's someone that he does get it. And he sees me without the window dressing. And I appreciate that. So you get to the point where, and all these things are happening in her life, and she's having these little moments of clarity. And then she has these moments of where she's just kind of existing in the world, and she's thinking about it. And one of the reasons why it's hard, she starts looking at why it's so hard to be happy. And that's kind of how she finishes the book. um and there's like this kind of like monologue at the end, and to the point where she's just like, if I leave you with one thing, and then there's like nothing. And I'm gonna kind of, I want to leave you with these last couple pages. because when I finished reading these, it made me very emotional. And here we go. I can't change my brain chemistry, but I can change how I choose to interact with the world around me. I'm slowly starting to realize that when my brain proposes suicide, what it really means is that I want to go someplace else, where it can exist formless and free, where time flows differently and things make sense. Life is merely a collection of good and bad experiences, loosely held together by the void in between, and that void is the space to your space to mold, a space to harness and create in. Just be careful not to get stuck there. I used to think my art didn't matter until it was published, but I was wrong. If today you so much as earnestly asked someone if they were okay, your impact on this world is already phenomenal. Someone somewhere right now is being impacted by your existence, whether good or bad. That's what I choose to believe that is this is all about. Not connection, but how we affect each other, even from a distance. I realize this monologue is getting out of hand, but if I leave you with one thing, that's the end. And she says in her video, in the Q&A, basically kind of to give you kind of a synopsis of what she's asked about that. And she's just like, well, because it doesn't matter what I say. The answer is whatever it is for you. So let me tell you, one of my major struggles um, involving mental health is the fact that when being an adult, I've tried a number of times. Yes, I have depression issues. Every depression screener that gets used on me comes up with, yeah, depression and generalized anxiety disorder. Check. Check. Um, One of the things that I've always, that over the last, like 5 to 10 years, I've tried to get people to um, classify me as, because there are things about how I see the world and how I react to the world that I don't feel like are covered with my 2 little checks already. And so I had a recent doctor's appointment, and it's around the time that I got to this point in the book and I was almost done with it, when everything, these moments of clarity start happening for Zoe. And they asked me all the regular depression and anxiety screener, questions. And they're like, was there anything else? And it's like, you know what? There is. Now, thinking back over the last like 5 to 10 years, whenever I tried to talk to someone about these things, I say, because I've researched it, and actually, in addition to having the theater background, I also have a psychology background, a little bit of one. It's like, yeah, I think I might have ADHD. Well, every time I brought that up in the past, it's immediately rebuffed. You're an adult. We don't, you don't diagnose ADHD in adults. And I knew it. I'd heard of other people having it done, so I knew it was something that people could do. These people were just choosing not to. And then finally, just a few days ago, I'm sitting in a doctor's office, and the question comes up, was there anything else you want to talk about? And I take a deep breath and say, yes, there is. I think I have ADHD. And they're like, okay, why do you feel that way? And in no way that I've ever been able to do in the past, I just start unloading. I open up my brain and I just let it all come out. It's like, it was like, I was like, okay, let's take a walk inside my head. Let's do it. And I took the doctor and we took a walk inside my head. And I won't get into specifics here, but I started, telling them exactly how I felt from day to day with certain circumstances. And they said, yep, I think you need to be screened for ADHD. And they gave me a reference. And I don't know what it was or what was different except for the fact that I was reading this book. So I think maybe it inspired me to advocate for myself finally. And I think it's funny where she's talking about how life is merely a collection of good and bad experiences, loosely held together by the void in between. And that void is your space to mold. Kind of sounds like what my friend said. Except for that space is not boring. That space is not quiet. That space is yours. That space that everything is quiet or seems boring or is not in the middle of one of your episodes where you want to pull your hair out, where you want to throw your computer across the room, where you want to take everything and take the table or the desk and flip it. We're not talking about those parts. Those parts happen. They happen. There's a rage. There's all the feelings that you're feeling everywhere in your head, and then they calm down. And then when they calm down, that's the void. It's not a void. It's not the boring part. It's yours. It's your part. It's my part. It's your part. It's everyone's time. It's your time to make something, to be something, to exist somewhere besides in those moments where you feel the sadness, the rage, the intrusive thoughts, the anxiety, the moments where you want to flip a table, where you want to cower in a corner and cry. Every moment besides that is your moment. It's the moments in between where you can do something beautiful. So, yeah, I have depression. Yeah, I definitely have anxiety. And yeah, sometimes I have intrusive thoughts, and I could quite possibly be adult onset ADHD. We'll find out. And I have my moments. I have my bursts of terror, but then I have my moments where I can be me and I can do something, and maybe it'll be beautiful. That's my moment. Those are all my moments, and you can have them too. That's about it for me. It's been a long video, and I hope maybe you got something out of it. But if that's it for me, then there's only one thing left to say, and that is keep your eyes and ears open. If you see something, say something, and remember, the complacent never make a difference. So get out there and make a difference. Until next time, this is the reading vlog, and we'll be seeing ya. Bye.